Okay, so now we're going to do the notes for 4-2, okay? This is called matrix multiplication. Let's start. It's going to give us a word problem here, and let's think through what type of situation you would use this. So the number of hours worked in a week and the hourly wage of the company's part-time employees are shown below. Okay, so you have week 1, week 2, week 3, and now you have employees Kay and Dave on the columns, okay? But their hourly wage is listed in another matrix, with Kay is 6 and Dave is 5. All right, so it says, how much did Kay make during week 1? So Kay worked 20 hours in week 1, okay, and she makes $6 per hour. So you would say 20 times 6 is equal to 120. Okay, that's how you would figure out how much she made in week 1, right? You would take how many hours she worked and multiply it by her hourly wage. So how much did Dave make in week 1? So he worked 12 hours, and he gets paid $5 per hour, which would be equal to 60. Now it says, what is the total amount paid to these employees in week 1? You would add them together. 120 plus 60, which would be total of 180. Now it says, find the amount paid to each employee during week 2. Okay, so now you'd be looking at week 2, which is going to be 10 for K times 6, which is 60. Now then Dave was 8, and he still is getting $5 per hour, so times 5 gives him 40. So your total paid out for week 2, you add these two together, and you get 100. Okay, so now it's telling you the process that you have used to answer these questions is called matrix multiplication. For example, to find the amount that was paid to each employee in week 1, you would multiply each entry, okay, in that row of the first matrix times each entry in column 1 of the second matrix. So for example, here we did here, in the second one here, we did the second one in the column over here. Then add the products to determine the total amount, right? So we multiplied these two, and then multiplied these two, and then added them together. So it says, use the matrix multiplication to find the indicated totals and complete the answer matrix below, right? So we already did week 1, which we got up here, which was 180. We already did week 2, which was 100. We just did it right here. So now for week 3, what would we have? We would have 5 times 6 plus 9 times 5. Okay, so you would get 30 plus 45, which would be 75. Okay, so we just did the same thing. So we did this one times this one, and then this one times this one, and added them together. Then we did this one times this one, and this one times this one, and added them together. Now for the last one, we do the same thing. The 5 times the 6 plus the 9 times the 5. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing when we're multiplying matrices. It works the same way. Okay, so let's look. Can these matrices be multiplied? Okay, look at number 1. So you have, let's see what this is. This is a 2 rows by 1 column. So it's a 2 by 1. And this is 2 rows by 2 columns. Now the next one is going to be 2 rows by 2 columns. And this one's 2 rows by 3 columns. So it says, since the inner numbers match, the matrices can be multiplied. So look at these two numbers on the inside. Do they match? No. So these cannot be multiplied. But over here, do the 2 numbers on the inside match? Yes. So these can be multiplied. Okay? And it says the outer numbers tell the size of the answer matrix. So for example, on this one, since we can multiply these together, the 2 by the 3 is what your answer should look like. Okay? So 2 by 3. That's what's on the outside. So the insides have to match, and then whatever's left on the outside is what the size your answer is going to be. So your answer will be size 2 by 3 for this specific one up here. Okay, so look, they rewrote it down here. It's the same one as up here. Okay, and we need to multiply them together to find the answer. Okay, so let's look. You're going to take your first one and multiply it by your -1. Okay, and now your second one is going to be down here. So instead of this row is going to be multiplying by this column. So your 4 times your -1, and then your 2 times your -2. Okay, so let's rewrite this. And you're going to have 4 times -1 plus 2 times -2. I'm going to need more room. Let me just erase this. Okay, so now let's do the next one. We're going to have 4 times 3 plus 4 times 0. Now your third spot is going to be 4 times 5 plus 2 times -6. Okay, so that's 1 number, 2 number, 3 number. Okay, now we're going to do our bottom row. Okay, so now this row is going to be multiplying by each one of these columns. So the -1 is going to be multiplied by the -1. Okay, the 3 is going to be multiplied by the -2. You're going to have -1 times 3 and 3 times 0. -1 times 5 and 3 times -6. Okay? So remember, we took our row and we're multiplying it by each column. Okay? So the 4 times the -1, the 2 times the -2. Okay? All right, so now let's do the math here. So we're going to have -4 minus 4. -4 minus 4 equals -8. Okay? Then you're going to get you're going to get 12 plus 0, which is 12. And you're going to get 20 minus 12, which is 8. Okay? You're just doing the math here. -1 times -1 is +1 minus 6, -5. -3 plus 0 is -3. And now you're going to have -5 minus 18. So you're going to get -23. So this will be your answer. Okay? All right, so now let's look at this next one. So let's say you've got, let's see what we have here. We have 2 rows by 1, 2, 3 columns. Let's see if we can multiply these. And then we're going to have 2 rows by 2 columns. So do your inner number or your inter numbers the same? No, they are not. So you cannot do it. Okay? There's no solution here. You cannot multiply. You can put no solution or no product. Okay. All right, so number 5 is long. It's going to be a big one. Let me see if I can do one that's a little bit shorter for the notes. Let's do number 7, okay? They all work the same way, okay? So this one up here, you're going to have a 3 by 3, and you're going to have a 3 by 3. So you have to look at the inside numbers. Are they the same? Yes, so you can do this one, okay? So you're going to take your first row and multiply it by the corresponding column. So the 7 times the 1, the -3 times the 0, the 2 times the -7, okay? They're all going to work the same way, but I'm going to do number 7 just because it's shorter. All right, so let's figure it out. We've got 2 rows by 3 columns, And then you have you have 3 rows by 1 column, so 3 by 1. So are your middle numbers the same? Yes. So we can do this one. We can multiply this one. Okay, and when we multiply it, we're going to have a 2 by 1 as our answer. Okay, so now let's do that. We're going to have 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 times 4, which is 12, plus negative 2 times negative 1, which is 2. Okay. Now let's do this next one. So this row times this column. So 2 times 2 is 4. Negative 1 times 4 is negative 4. And 5 times negative 1 is negative 5. So now, let's see, we get 8 plus 12 is 20, plus 2 is 22. And you're going to have 4 minus 4 is 0, minus 5 is negative 5. So this is your answer, and your answer should be a 2 by 1. So there's 2 rows and 1 column. So that's true. That's correct, if you need to check it. Okay? All right.